Today, let's talk about everything that you need to know about sending Microsoft Outlook emails via PowerApps. So we're going to talk about, sending emails, multiple senders, subjects, bodies, HTML bodies, attachments, getting images in there, all the little pieces that you might need to know in order to send an email. Sounding fun? Then let's just switch over to my desktop and take a look. Okay, so over here on my desktop, this is going to be the interface that we're going to go through. So if you're wondering what are all the scenarios we're going to cover, here are all the different things, right? But I don't want to jump straight into this one because I think while this is important, so help us understand all the concepts, we're going to start first over here with a completely blank app. So let's make us a brand new app. So we'll hit blank app. We'll say create here. We'll call this email video. Make sure we leave it tablet, phone. This wouldn't matter. This is just making our lives easier, bigger interface, and we'll say create. Okay, so there you go. Now after a few seconds, we're greeted with our good old friend, the big blank white screen. And so the very first thing you need to do if you want to send an email is you're going to go here to data sources, and you're going to say add data, and you are going to search for Outlook. Now it might take a few seconds to come through, but eventually you should see Office 365 Outlook. Now remember Outlook.com, that's the personal email stuff. There's some other stuff in here, don't get confused. This is what you're looking for, right? Office 365 Outlook, because you want to send it with your company account. Now, if you don't have a connection here, you just say add a connection, and then you just say connect over here on the right. I'm not going to do that because you can see I've already got too many. So now if we go back over there again real quick. And so here, we're just going to choose one of these. If you're wondering why I've got so many people ask sometimes, it's because I've shown people how to create it too many times. So just choose any of these if you got it. And remember, when it comes to sending emails, right, whoever presses the button is who it's going to come from. It's not me, the maker of the app. If I build this app and I share it with Buddy and Buddy presses the button, whoosh, then the email comes from Buddy. Or if I send it from, if I give it to Nicola, it comes from her, right? Whoever presses the button. That's why when they log into the app the first time, they have to consent to give the app permission to do things from them. But everything this app does is the same as if you did it over in the Outlook client. So if Buddy presses that button and whoosh, the email goes, then if Buddy was to go look in his sent items, in his sent items would be that email, right? Because the email is working the same. So same type of thing, we can talk about permissions later, right? Only things that Buddy can do and send emails through are things that he has permission to. So remember, everything about this connection is tied to the user that presses a button, not the person who built the app. Okay, so now that we've got the connector in there, now what we want to do is we're just going to insert a button. And in its most simple form, what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to type in Office 365 Outlook, right? That's the name of the connector. And then if you do a dot, here are all the different actions you can do. There's probably 30 or 40 of them. I've never counted. I probably should. So we're not going to go through all of those, but I want you to know they're here, right? So if you want to work with calendars, if you want to create events, if you want to read emails, delete emails, all of that is possible because you have a live connection now. And once again, it would be operating on the user's inbox or the user's mailbox, I should say, of the person that is running it at the time, right? But there is a ton of stuff in here. Now, what we care about is right here is send email, right? So there's send email and send email v2. You always want to use the latest one, right? Some of these you can see reply to's on v3, right? Some of them are v4s even. You always want to use the latest one. Now, the good news is we've been on send email v2 now for, 5 years, maybe 6 years. So I don't think it's changing anytime soon, but just in case you ever see a new one, you would always want to switch to it. You don't want to use this old one. It has different default settings. It handles HTML different. It's a bunch of goofiness. So don't use that. If you got really old apps, you might want to update them to the V2. It's more fully featured. So we'll choose send email V2. Then we'll open our parentheses. Now when you see there, it says, send email to subject and body. So remember, these are the 3 required fields. This ... means, hey, there's other optional things we can do, but in order to send it at a minimum, you got to give me a to, a subject, and a body. Okay. Now the to is going to be text. So you could just do something as simple as shane@powerapps911.com. Yes, that's my real email address, right? Putting it in double quotes makes it a string. I've miscapitalized it. I'm not even going to fix it because it doesn't care, right? Email is not case sensitive. But that's all it's looking for in the to line. So then if we do a comma, now for the subject is also just plain text, right? So we'll just say subject, I can't spell, goes here like so, close up parentheses, boom. Lastly, we've got body. So we'll do another comma. And so for the body, it is the same thing. It just wants some form of text. So let's just say body goes here. But we're going to talk about the more advanced things you can do with body later. Now we can close our parentheses because those are the only required parameters. And if I hold down the Alt key and press the button, boop, in just a moment, I will have an email over here in my inbox. So hang on. And there you go. Look, from Shane, right? Because Shane pressed the button, to Shane, because Shane was in the email address. Subject goes here. There's a subject. body goes here, right? So that's always should be your first test. Like that just proves out that yes, you've got the basics of the mechanics. Now that we've got the basics in, now we can expand, right? Like, so what if we want to send it to multiple people? Then it just needs to be the same format as Outlook would expect. There'd be a semicolon, right? So we do semicolon, and then we could do Chewy at PowerApps911.com. And now it would go to Shane and Chewy. If we wanted to have that dynamic, right? Because remember, PowerApps just wants what PowerApps wants. It doesn't care how you get there. It just wants text. It doesn't care if you combine these two. Maybe we'll put a semicolon here. And then we also want to send it to the logged in user. And so we would just go here and say ampersand, right? That's how we combine two text strings. And then we could use the user function and do the user email. So now that would be Shane, semicolon, Chewy, semicolon, well, actually user email is Shane again, right? I'm gonna make this less confusing. We'll just change this to say buddy. So there you go. So now we go to buddy, Chewy, and then Shane, right? And there's a semicolon because that semicolon was important. Ampersand user email, boom, we've got it. So now if we press the button, boop, right? To buddy, Chewy, Shane, and you can see subject goes here and body goes here. They didn't change. Okay, so the same thing goes for subject, right? And let's just hit enter. We're just going to hit enter here and make this a little bigger. Let's pull this down first, right? Just to make this easier for us. Remember, like PowerApps doesn't care about the spacings and stuff. So we're going to do it there just to make our lives easier. So subject is the same thing. So subject can just be flat text like this. We could have it pull in, go something like this. Say subject goes here, or no, we'll fix that. Button clicked by. And then we could ampersand, we could use that user function again and use their full name, right? So then that would be the logged in user's full name. So we'd know who clicked the button. It's going to say me, but we could do that. We could be looking up the information from a variable, from a database, we could be doing a calculation, like we could put the date in there, whatever you know how to generate in text. It just wants text before that comma. It doesn't care how you get there, okay? So that's gonna be the same thing there. And then down here in the body, what's really cool about the body is the body supports HTML, right? So when we just do plain text, it just shows up as plain text. But if we go right here, and how about if we say body goes here, and then we just insert a U for underline, right? And then we put a close U there, right? That's HTML. So now if we press this button, boop, and look at that. So now we've got body goes here with the goes underlined, right? So if you know how to write HTML, and it's one of the core PowerApps skills that we all should have, then you can make this do whatever you want. If you want to have tables, images, any type of stuff. Now, keep in mind that, while you can put any HTML up here you want as text, you are then dependent on the client, right? And so the Outlook client renders HTML different than the Outlook web interface versus if you're sending to someone's Gmail versus if you're sending to someone's Lotus Notes mail. Will Lotus Notes still have mail? I wonder. Anyway, doesn't matter. But keep that in mind. Like, just because you're like, hey, that's valid HTML, it might not be valid HTML. We run into that sometimes. Like Outlook doesn't like to do like circle images, and Outlook's email doesn't like style sheets. And there's all these weird rules. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to write a really beautiful HTML email, make sure you test often and make sure whatever client you're sending it to works, right? Like for the most part, it's not a problem, but every now and then we run into people who are doing really crazy stuff there and they struggle. So I wanted to point that out to you. That, my friends, is the core of sending an email. Okay, so now that we've got the basics down, and you probably already knew the basics, that's okay. Now let's switch over, and now we can hopefully jump through the demos and the other one with a little more context, right? But this is the kind of stuff we got to do to get going, right? So if we go over here, this button for send a simple email does exactly what you just saw, right? Sends it to me, subject goes here, boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna change this right now while I'm thinking about it, and we're gonna change this to just be boom. So that way you're gonna send it to yourself. Because one of the really cool things about this app is I'm going to package it up. And so for all the people that subscribe to my training over at training.powerapps911.com, whether they're in the YouTube library or one of my lovely training classes, they can download this app. So if you want to just grab this app and have it work for you, bingo, bango, you can do that. And now when you press the button, because people have downloaded these apps before, instead of coming to me, it'll go to you because you pressed the button. So send a simple email. We've already seen that one. We're not even going to mess with it, right? That's doing a bold around that. Awesome. If you wanted to add a CC and BCC, so we haven't done that one yet, right? So same Shane, same subject, same body. But look here, then we're just going to hit enter again, make this easier to read. So what happens is this particular function has different parameters, right? Optional parameters. So, hey, before I forget, we've got a live training class coming up. If you're over to training.powerapps911.com, 5 glorious days with me talking about everything Power Apps and Power Automate that you need to know to get started, right? So we're going to go, it's called Power Apps and Power Automate 201. It is, that whole, I'm faking it until I make it. Well, I'm going to take all those things that you kind of know, and I'm going to connect all the dots and give you all the context you need. If that sounds like fun, just go to training.powerapps901.com and sign up today. CC is optional. So we can just do curly bracket, right? So everything in the optional goes in the curly bracket. And then we can do a CC Chewy at PowerApps901.com and BCC cat, right? Like here, let's just delete it and we'll rewrite that just so you can see what that would look like. So you go here, right? Remember when we were in the function, it's like, hey, I'm happy. But if you do the extra comma, then it will offer you all these things, right? Oh, now I can do attachments, BCC, CC, from, importance, etc. So we're going to do CC. Notice the C's are capitalized different. Then it just wants the email, whatever way you want to do it again, right? So we just throw in Chewy, and then we got to make sure we close the curly brackets. Now, if you're doing multiple things, so in our case, we're going to do CC and BCC, you do need to remember, and you can see it right here. Like if you look on the screen right below where my cursor is, I'm not moving my mouse, it'll freak out. But you can see like from is text, CC is text, BCC, text, attachments to the table, importance is text. But notice how they show you it's a comma between them. So here we would just go right in here. And if we want to do another one, we throw a comma in, and now it offers me everything again. And now we would do BCC, and then we'll throw buddy in there, right? So buddy. Not more curly brackets, just one set of curly brackets, and you just comma separate them. Same thing, if you want to do importance, just do importance, and then we would set that. Now you have to know that your different importance, right? And we're just going to set this one to importance is high. It is text. There you go. And now that should work, right? So let's press the button, make sure it works. Boop, look at that. To Shane, CC, Chewy, the BCC is hidden from us, which you would expect. Subject is there, body is there. There's that high importance flag, okay? So nothing crazy, just that's how it works. Okay, so that's sending email to CC and BCC. This one just did the importance of high, which we just did, so we'll skip that one. Send an email from another user. This one is a little confusing, okay? So you see this whole from thing. This is a question we get all the time. Like, yeah, I want to have all the emails come from PowerApps@company.com or something. The key to this is that you can only do things you have permission to, right? So my account, my Shane at PowerApps901 account, 911.com, whatever that is, account, has permission to send emails from Chewy, right? Chewy gave me the send as permission. So I can do a from here, Chewy, and now if we send this email, so let's press the button, boop, look, I got it from Chewy. That email came from Chewy, okay? So, but it's because I have permission, right? I can go into Outlook and I can send as Chewy. Okay. If I try to change this to be from, Nicola at PowerApps901.com, I do not have permission to send as her, then it is going to fail, right? So let's press the button, boop. We get an error if we hover, right? Like you guys kind of reads it, but you are not authorized to send email on behalf of the specified sending account. Okay. It's not going to let you do anything you don't have permission to do. So if you can't send as PowerApps911@company.com, then it's not going to work. So just keep that in mind. That is a very common point of confusion for people is they try to send emails from a generic account that they don't have permission to. So if you want everyone to send emails from that, you got to give everyone send as. Things to consider. Okay, thus far we've done everything is very fixed. So now what if we want to incorporate controls in here to do this? So like, for example, this is a combo box set to my Microsoft 365 users search user. So now if we say play, and then we go in here, we see all the different users. And so if I want to send an email to Chewy, right, we could just start a search for Chewy. And so now Chewy is going to be in there, right? Subject, manual input, body, right? So here I use a rich text control. Why, right? Because the rich text control gives us all of these fun things. Like I want to take that and highlight it in this green color now. Of course, the rich text control looks a lot better when you don't put it in such a small interface, but you get the idea. We have the ability to choose these things. There you go. So that's green, right? We can take and we'll underline this one, whatever. It's just writing HTML for us. So if you want to let your users write their own email bodies and you want them to have a rich experience, use the rich text editor. Maybe give it more space so it's not so clunky to use, but you get the idea. And then ultimately, we also want to do an attachment. So let's attach file. How about Buddy? Buddy is the puppy playing with his toy, right? So we'll say open. So now we've got all that loaded up. So we've input all these things. Now, if we look at our button, it's going to look very similar, right? So still our send email v2. For the to line, we are concatenating all the things you chose in Chewy appear in this 2-drop combo box. If we chose multiple, it would be multiple in there. We only chose Chewy, so it's there, right? So that gave us the ability to let them select one or more users themselves. That's why we had to use a combo box. Drop-downs only let you select one. Combo boxes let you select multiple. For the subject, we are just putting whatever's in this blue box here. So manual input's what it's going to say. For the body, we did the rich text body HTML text. And so here, if you look, right, highlight this thing. See, it's not just the enter some rich text here. It is a paragraph. It's got a span with a color, right? Like it is actual HTML. That's how it's going to look, or that's how it's going to render correctly when we get over to Outlook. Now for attachments are a little different, okay? So this is the attachment control I stole from a form. And so once I stole that attachment control from the form, I was able to attach file like you saw, and we can even attach multiple files. When you attach files, they come out of the attachment control, that's the name of the control. There is a table called attachments. That table has 2 columns. One is called name, that is the file name, Buddy Toy. Value is the blob, the file that you attached. When you send attachments with Outlook, it does not want a column named value. So you can't just say use my attachments control. So what we do is we need to rename this value column to content bytes. That's what it's looking for. So what you do is you take a rename columns and you say, hey, find the value column and rename it content bytes, right? Now, if we select all this, you're going to see that it's going to look exactly the same, but now it's called content bytes with the blob and name because that's the format that PowerApps wants to send an email's attachment. If we attach a second file, right? Let's hit play, let's just attach another file, Buddy and Nicola, right? One of my favorite pictures. So we'll open that one. Okay, so now we've got 2 files in there. It's gonna be the same thing, right? Like if we go once again here and we just look, it has made a table. There's the 2 files, there's the 2 names, and that's the format that Outlook wants, okay? That's one of the more confusing parts, but it's okay, right? Just grab an attachments control, and then you can do your thing by just renaming the value column. The name column is correct as well, right? So let's test it out, make sure it works. So we'll press this button, boop. Oh, you know what? I only send it to Chewy. Well, that's not gonna help, right? So let's just change this, or let's add me in here. So we'll send to Shane. Okay, so now we got Chewy and Shane, and let's press the button again. All right, that took forever. That's the beauty of editing videos, but you can see, look, so there's manual input, there's to Chewy and myself. It's from me, I press the button. There are our 2 files attached with their pretty faces, and there is our weird HTML formatted text, right? So all of the things that we would expect. And we didn't really do anything different here. We just used inputs instead of hard coding all this stuff. And remember, instead of using inputs, if I want to go query our SharePoint list to get the body of the email, I always want the same body from a SharePoint list or from a Dataverse, or I want to go get someone's manager and put that in there. Like, it doesn't matter. It just wants what it wants. It doesn't care if you get it with a variable, with a lookup, with a calculation, with a formula, hard-coded. None of this matters, right? Text inputs, it's all working. So there you go. So that's sending that one. A couple more over here we want to talk about. Let's do this one next. So with this one is a reminder of like how complicated your HTML body can be. So here I have an HTML control with just oodles and oodles of HTML, right? Like I've got styles in here. I've got, a concat in here to combine multiple forms. Like we're not going to talk about how all this works. If you've never seen this before, I'll tell you what, I'll put a link to a video up there. It talks about how concat works, but we did all this, right? We've got the person's name, we got an image, all of that. And the HTML control gives you a chance to look at that, all right? So that's what we're sending. So we press this button, I'm holding down the Alt key again, remember, press button, boop, and look, there is that HTML table is formatted. We got that email signature in there, all the pieces. So we have customers, right, where we send very complicated, very beautiful, multi-nested HTML tables with colors and shading and images and all the things that you would expect, right? Once they realize that you can format those emails, they kind of go crazy sometimes. So keep that in mind. Whatever you can write in HTML and you can get the client to render, because those clients can be grumpy, you've got that working for you. This one here, so this is a little bit of a departure concept, but I want you to also understand. So sometimes we want to send links in PowerApps to a specific app, to a specific record. So I don't want to just have it open up the record or the app. I want to open up an app to a specific record. Like a lot of times, like when we do approvals, like I want to take you to the thing I want you to approve, not to the approvals app itself. Okay, so that is called deep linking. Now we're not going to teach all of deep linking here, but I wanted you to see it because it is an important email concept. And so all you're really doing is you're updating the body here, right? This is all just the body with HTML that generates a URL that takes them to the app, okay? So if we press that, let's go over here for a second real quick. We'll say play, we'll press this button. So look, here's just the link because Shane is lazy like Chewy. Who knows, right? I write dumb stuff. There you go. If we press this link though, it is going to open a new browser tab. It's going to take us to a different app. We got to allow access. And it's going to take us to this app, and not only going to take us to this app, but it's going to take us straight to Chewy's record within the app. Ta-da! Right? So even though this app has, tons of users, right? If we go over here, like you could choose any of these people, we had it take us straight to Chewy's by passing a parameter in the thing, right? So we're not going to teach how to do deep linking. There's a video up there. It's a great concept, very handy, and it kind of goes in email. So I want you to understand it was possible, even though we're not going to really dive into that today. Two more concepts. So another one we're not going to really go very far into. But sometimes people are like, hey, all I want to do is open Outlook for them. I don't want to have them use an interface. I want to build it here. I just literally want to open their Outlook with some preset stuff, right? So there is a function that you can use. So use a different one here. You're going to use the launch and you're going to use Mailto. So Mailto is an HTML concept where you specify, like in this case, an email, and then we can set the CCs, the BCCs, we can set the subject, we can set the body. It's just what you learn to do with Mailto, right? So it has nothing to do with the Outlook connector. All this is going to do is say, hey, operating system of the phone, the device, the laptop, whatever they're using, launch your default mail client. So in my case, my default mail client is Outlook, but my default mail client was some other random mail client. I don't know, name another mail client at this point in my life. Then that would open, right? So if we press this button, boop, over on my other monitor, it opened up this email. Look, you can see that it's pre-configured, right? But it's using Outlook. So I could go in here, I could edit this, do whatever. It's just an Outlook email that just opened up with a bunch of stuff pre-configured. So Mailto is how you do that. It doesn't come up very often, but for those that do, they're like, oh, I've always wanted to do that. So there you go. Last one is, what if we want to not use attachment controls? We want to do pictures. So maybe we want to take a picture with a camera or let them choose their own picture, right? Or maybe you got a pin input. All of those things, it doesn't matter. Remember, our function just wants what it wants, doesn't care how you get there. So in this case, let's just click here to add a picture. We'll grab Chewy's nose. Hi, Chewy. Now, remember that this control acts differently on a PC versus it does on a mobile device, right? Because on a mobile device, it would offer to let me use my camera. On a PC, it does not. Okay, but now if we say send email based on input, so these inputs plus this image, we should get a picture of Chewy's nose. Let's see what happens in a second. Yay, it works, okay? So the difference here, this attachments property of the email function just wants a table. It doesn't care how you get there. So in this case, because that control didn't make a table, I had to make one myself, and I had to say, all right, table, I need two columns, a content bytes one, right? That's going to be the media, in this case, the picture of Chewy's nose. And I need that name column, and that's going to be the file name coming from the add media. So in that case, it was called like Chewy's nose or something like that. But so if I wanted to do a pin input, then here for the content bytes, it would have been the output pin input one.image, right? And then for the name, I would just called it like signature.png or something. If I wanted to use the camera control, I would have maybe grabbed the stream or the picture from it. It doesn't matter. This is a table. If I wanted to have four these picture controls here, I could have just had four of these in here, right? It would have been attachments table, boom, 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 boom. And then right here, right, I would have done a comma, and then I would have done a whole nother, this same exact record again, right? And then I paste that right there. And then instead of using add media button 1, I would have used add media button 2, right? And then bingo, bango, now we're able to add two pictures. So keep that in mind, right? I know for some of you, like these table function stuff's a little scary. If you watch or if you download the app, remember that, you can, kind of piece through this, but it's once you get used to making tables manually and you just realize it's those two columns, content bytes, capital C, capital B, case sensitive is important, and name, you're in business, right? So I'm gonna delete that out before I mess it up myself later, but there you go. Whew. All right, well, that was a lot more than I expected, right? But email is important. There's so much you can do with it. And once you're comfortable with it, like there's all these doors that open because, you start sending pretty emails, you start sending actionable emails with those deep links, you start doing attachments, pictures, all that fun stuff. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. I try to read all of them. I'm not as good as I used to be, or I get thousands a year. I just can't keep up, but I do my best. So please let them down there. If there's other things you want to see around email, let me know. Or if there's anything we can do to help you, right? Reach out over at PowerApps911.com. We got training, consulting, mentoring. We got 6-month programs. We can help you for 30 minutes. We can help you for 30 years. It doesn't matter. We have all types of options to help you. And with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day.